I think from a budget perspective, this is going to be a tricky budget for the government because they have to balance expectations of people who have voted the government into power and also corporate, which are expecting a big change in terms of policy making and reforms being brought in again in the economic environment. So trying to balance those along with some current challenges where we talk about rains not being as good as they have been over the last few years, and also the impending situation in Iraq, which could potentially push up the crude prices and then have overall impact on trade deficit and the energy costs. So in that sense, I think the government has a difficult task at hand to try and balance. If you just looked at expectations, so from a corporate perspective, I think expectations are find out ways to boost demand, which essentially could mean like putting more money in people's hand, looking at things like GST rollout, where again you're not expecting a solution, but at least some discussion should start. And with, let's say, potentially the rains not being as good, some sort of a hedging against increase in commodity prices and reduced demand. So I think clearly looking at some policy framework that will help them grow or sustain the demand that is there and also protect their bottom line. From a corporate perspective also, what would be important is to understand what is the stand that the government is taking on FDI, especially in the retail segment. There have been some initial feelers from the government, but clearly coming out with a policy to say this is what we believe or we would be doing over the next few years. And then the third one is from a manufacturing perspective. Like if you look at most of the consumer business and retail segment, manufacturing is very closely tied to it. So are there some policy reforms that need to be brought in to grow the manufacturing segment in India? I think that's clearly some expectation that the corporates would have from the budget as well. From a consumer perspective, I think the biggest one would be in terms of relooking at the taxation structure, income tax structure, because there are a lot of limits that got set up some time back with the change in economic scenario, inflation, some of those limits probably need a relook. So how do companies, how does the government balance that? I think that would be something which would be top of customers' mind. And I think in general people are expecting it to be a positive budget and expecting some changes to happen rather than a maintained budget. So I think it's going to be an interesting budget to watch out for.